Hello everyone, I'm Rishi Persad and welcome back to Racing Weekly, a podcast and YouTube show brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. What a week this is. It culminates in the running of the 2026 Derby at Epsom. We have two fine gentlemen to help us look forward to that, as well as look back at some of the good racing we've just seen. Steve Ryder is in position, battled through the rain, and his shirt is now dry.
No, I'm not sure it is.
Well, let's hope it is by the end of the show. Steve Mellish has resumed his position for our Derby preview because this must be one of your favourite weeks of the year, Steve.
It's a great week. I absolutely love the race. It's had its critics, it's had its ups and downs, no question. But yeah, I first went in '79 when Troy won, first one, and which was a great year to go because he won by a million miles, and I've absolutely loved it. Seen some fantastic horses over the years. Whether it's quite the benchmark it was, I don't know, but it's certainly been the most important race we had. I really like the fact that they're making an effort to, after last year, which was a pretty low ebb, I think. Yeah. They're making an effort to, get it back towards its former glories. We'll see how it works out, but I really do wish them well.
Well, we'll talk more about it, obviously, but I know we're jesting about the weather and that you've come in through the rain, but it's something to bear in mind. Keep that in mind through the whole conversation and something to look at all through the week, the fact that it is raining at the moment.
Yeah, and even on the undercards, you've got horses that probably targeted at races looking at faster ground and, just how much it actually gets into the ground. We've seen it a lot recently that if you plough a lot of water onto courses that haven't had rain for months, it can change the going, let's say.
Yeah. And there's a difference. We were talking very briefly. I've got 2 or 3 apps I've been looking at, and it varies between expecting maybe 3/4 of an inch in the week to getting 1.5 inches. One would really make a difference to the ground. On top of water ground, it would make a difference, big time.
All right, we'll talk more about the Derby and all the accompanying discussions a little bit later on. But just a word from you, Steve, about how the flat season's unfolding so far and the quality that we're seeing, some of the stars that are rising to the top.
I think it's great, and I think because one of the most interesting things about the flat is when the 3-year-olds eventually meet the older horses, and that's been set up nicely after the French Derby at the weekend, where there's talk about the winner going for the Eclipse, and that's a few days after Ombudsman gave £7 to Gethin and set his stand. I think we've got some good older horses this year, some proper good older horses. So they set a good benchmark for the 3-year-olds to aim at. That's what is fascinating about flat racing. You have to prove yourself at your own age, maybe even prove yourself about gender at your own age, but eventually to be a good horse, a really, really good horse, you have to prove yourself against other generations. That's what flat racing's pattern is all about.
All right, and you've set us up nicely, talking about a couple of star performers we saw in the last week for this week's Racing Recap. And let's start with the Brigadier Gerard at Sandown. Steve, I'll start with you on this. Ombudsman last year couldn't quite give away the penalty to Al Makam. He did this year to Gethin. How does that compare?
I thought it was a really good performance. I thought the market was fascinating, to be honest, because Ombudsman was relatively weak in the morning. I think drifted out to about 10 to 11 and then smashed back into 2 to 5. And I think if you backed him, you wouldn't have had many concerns throughout the race at all. I thought Gethin showed a bit of inexperience, just slightly too keen in the early stages. It wasn't really a strongly run race, but showed a good attitude to fight back at the finish because it obviously used a lot of energy up early on in the race. But yeah, Ombudsman, he was a beaten favourite last year, managed to get the job done, trying to concede £7 to some smart operators. Job done, and on to Royal Ascot.
Yeah, for which he's 2 to 1 with Bet365 for the Prince of Walesers. Dara's 6 to 5, Al Makam 7s, and then 12s bar those. But those seem to be 3 of the big contenders for that race, Steve. Are you impressed with what he did against Gethin?
Yeah, I was impressed last year. In some, I think Group 3 is the race, isn't it? Yeah. So I think the strongest Group 3 we saw in Europe last year. I thought that at the time, and think subsequent events have proved. I think Al Makam is a really good horse. In fact, he still hasn't had his ground. Not really. I think softer ground he'd be even better. But Ombudsman is a genuine high 120s horse, which in terms of you're getting towards really classy animals. That's a high standard. At the moment, the 3-year-olds have no 3-year-old or Beau Echo side has achieved anything like that. Even the French Derby winner at the weekend, good as it was, doesn't mean he won't. But he hasn't done it yet. So Ombudsman is a genuine Group 1 horse.
At this stage, Dara's Ombudsman, let's say Al Makam, on normal Royal Ascot, decent ground.
When the Prince of Wales you're talking
about? Prince of Wales is.
I've been very impressed with the French horse. I'd probably favour Ombudsman on good ground. I wouldn't mind Rain and taking a chance on Almaca by the price. I do think there isn't that much between them if he could get his ground.
With Rain. And for you, Steve?
Slightly Ombudsman, just given Ascot form, I think probably would sway me in that direction. But I watched back the Prince of Wales last year. I hadn't realised, I'd forgotten how overcame trouble in running in order to put in that burst of energy to go down the outside. It was really, really impressive. And it's going to be interesting tactically, that race, isn't it? Because Darius has won the Arc over 1.5 miles, but had plenty of pace to win the Dispahan over 1 mile and 1. So I imagine William Buick will probably try to ride for a turn of foot and will just track through Mikel Barcelona, and it will just be fascinating, a bit of cat and mouse late on in the Prince of Wales. But I'm really, really looking forward to that race.
That's a terrific race that obviously we'll preview in one of our shows later on. The Heron Stakes also took place on the same evening. Talk of New York won it. Charlie Appleby effusive about his chances in going up against Stade and Bo Echo when they go to the St James's Palace. What he's done so far, Steve, how much do you think he's achieved?
Well, I think it's fascinating to see the development. I think it's been before your eyes. This was a talented but hard pulling horse, wasn't it? And they've slowly got it. But in fact, the other day it sat sort of fourth. I think it was fine earlier. I think he has grown up. I think all the things they've been saying about him are coming to fruition. He has to make another step forward. But it was a huge step in the right direction, and he's got that classy turn of foot. Fascinating. I mean, the Marlers look good this year. You know, the Bo Echo and Stade set a high standard. He's got to improve again, but I can absolutely see why they're going there. And they've got a line, haven't they? They've got a horse who's
Distance Storm.
Who's not as good, but he's still a pretty good horse. If they know this is better, it puts them in the mix.
Charlie Appleby made the point that Talk of New York is a better horse than Distance Storm after the race. Bo Echo is 11-10. Stade 11-4, Talk of New York 5-1, and Raif 9-1. In 4 very good horses lining up for the St James's Palace Stakes. Those are the prices of Bet365. What do you think about it at the moment?
I mean, it's an absolute belting race. Steve touched on the Eclipse for the mile and 2 horses looking forward with Constitution River, but I can't wait for the Sussex Stakes when you end up seeing the milers coming from the Queen Anne and this bunch, because we've got some really, really good 3-year-old milers. Bo Echo rated 126 definitely sets the standard, but I thought he was trained to the minute for that 2,000 guineas, and it's just whether the others can progress. Tactically, I thought this race was fascinating because Maximise was clearly in as a pacemaker, but Nation's Hope took off under Rosa Ryan, off for 169 days, was just far too keen. But
ran well in the circumstances.
Really well. I thought he would be folded a lot more. It was obviously a weak finishing effort, but not as weak as I thought it would be given his early exertions. But they ensured a strong enough pace for Talk of New York to settle. I'd like to see the hood kept on. We discussed it last week, didn't we? The fact that they would in and in between taking it off or not. He's been he's beaten the 107 rated time for term by 5.5 lengths in receipt of £5. The handicapper today has rated him 8 to 112, but they gave Bo Echo 126. We've still got about a stone to find on official ratings. I personally think that Bo Echo one might be slightly high based on that he was trained to the minute for it. But to have a finishing speed percentage of 101, given those early fractions, I think it was 2.5 seconds below standard, so it was a really quick time. It was hard not to be impressed with him, and he's the sort of horse that going round the bend at Ascot will help him. But it's going to be, again, a fascinating race to watch tactically, because they're all going to be playing for that turn of foot, aren't they? You'd imagine Ryan will be further forward on Stade, and it'll be Billy Loughnane and William Buick waiting when to make their challenge.
Who do you think will come out on top?
Bo Echo.
Bo Echo? That straightforward?
No, I'd be against Bo Echo. I'd be with the other two. I think he was trained to the minute for that 2,000 guineas, and whether he can resume that progress through the rest of the year. I think the way that Aidan O'Brien trains these days is to progress through the season. I can see Stade getting a lot closer. I just love what they've done with Talk of New York. It's
an exciting race.
Very much so.
The meeting that was due to be taking place at Haydock got moved to Carlisle. Obviously, the Leicester Pigott Filly Stakes was the feature race. The Old Pinnacle and Estrange became the first horse to win it twice. She was, I thought, pretty impressive in the way she did it. She's getting quotes of 50-1 for the Arc. I actually think that's interesting. Because I think, again, like you're talking about Al Mackham, I don't think we actually have seen Estrange get a properly run 1.5 mile race with decent cut in the ground for her. I mean, even though she's achieved a fair bit, I still don't think we know how quite good she is.
Yeah, I look back at last year, I think she got quotes of 16-1 for the Arc, having won this. But I was impressed with this. She was entitled to win. She was £6 clear on ratings. But here, I just hope that we don't keep hearing about the ground for her, because she clearly handles good to firm ground. Yes, she's probably better on soft ground. I went back and looked at her second to Kalpana in the Filly Mares last year, and she had to force her way out and just never really was on terms in order to get to Kalpana. We know how good she is. I thought Wardar ran well in second. I imagine heading back to the Lily Langtree over 1 mile and 6, she looks a stayer to me going forward. But Estrange did what she needed to. I'm not interested in the 50-1 for the Arc, though.
Okay.
I slightly disagree with Stu. I think the ground's absolutely massive. I think she was a stone below, but it didn't have to be. It had to be. She was bad, but I didn't think she's anything like as good on fast ground. She can handle it because she's a good filly, but to have any chance in Group 1 company, I think she needs everything in her favour. When she got beat by the Aidan O'Brien filly last year at York, again on ground, which is, I'm not saying Mini Hawk may be better, but I think Estrange hasn't had the opportunity to strut herself once on proper soft ground. But I'm not sure about the 1.5 in top company. I think 1.25 miles would be her trip myself. So I'd like to go to Ascot again. I mean, unseasonably fast ground last year. Some of those horses, Almaquan and Estrange, you want to book your holidays the week Estrange or Almaquan are running, because they never get the ground, even in October. So I think 1.25 miles soft ground, I'd like to see her in a Group 1 race.
It appears she is going for the Pretty Polly in Ireland next, so that will be an opportunity to test her.
It can rain in Ireland, can't it?
It's been known. You've mentioned this horse a couple of times, Steve, and that's the win of the French Derby, Constitution River. Can we just deal with how the race unfolded, first of all, before we talk about the strength of form and what you think of the horse and the tactics?
We've talked about this a couple of times. It was an incredible sight, wasn't it? Aidan O'Brien, obviously, a masterclass. I do think some other jockeys must be questioning the rides they were given. When you have a top-class organisation with the first two in the betting among the 3 horses who go from with their pacemaker, and are given, in some cases, 8-10 lengths start. I thought it was very obvious after 2 furlongs that the winner had to come from the first 3. Had to. I'm not saying they're not the best horses. I'm not saying that. What did he achieve? I think sometimes things accelerate themselves too fast. I think he'd already been written out as a great. I just want to say, I think he ran to about 118 for what it's worth, which is very good from a poor draw. And he did really well to win, and he's very exciting. At the moment, I think he's got to improve quite a bit to be considered a very, very good horse. Not saying he won't, but at the moment I think his reputation is slightly ahead of what he's done. That's all. I'm not anti him, I want to make that clear, but I think the superlative should wait until he's actually put up a superlative performance rather than overcome trouble or just impressed with the eye.
Fair enough. What did you make of the tactics and the performance?
I mean, the tactics were just brilliant, weren't they? Christophe Soumillon is a proper team player as well, because he could have hung out and took the position that Constitution River was in and forced him 3 wide, but he didn't. He did his job. He slotted in the inside, and it all went perfectly. I actually thought after 2 furlongs we were going to see a really, really impressive performance from Constitution River, and I thought he was beaten. Yes, it might have been a bit of inexperience. Ryan Moore's nudging along, which he can do. He doesn't care about looking stylish in the saddle and everything that way. But I was slightly underwhelmed, which seems strange for a favourite that's won the French Derby and led home a 1-2-3 for the stable. But I probably got a bit overexcited around the performance at Chester. And it's now going to be interesting to see how the market goes for the Eclipse. Because Aidan O'Brien straight after the race said he's done quite a lot there. We might have a break and bring him back in the autumn. And then the Eclipse started getting mentioned again. And it is going to be interesting when he does go up against the older horses. So like Steve says, you have got Ombudsman there sat laying in wait.
Yeah, and of course, because of that, if we imagine if both horses went for the Eclipse next, let's say, because obviously Ombudsman's going to run in the Prince of Wales, but just theoretically, Constitution River and Ombudsman are 5-2 joint favourites for the Eclipse. Is that right?
I don't. I mean, I think Ombudsman has achieved a lot more. He had more opportunity to achieve more. And so I'm not saying this is some total of what constituted was going to achieve. But at the moment, no, I'd have Ombudsman ahead of him in the best. I think everything went wrong in the eclipse last year for him. Yeah. And I really do. I think he was in. You know, he made his move too early. He was forced to do all sorts of things. Aidan will run more than one, so it won't be a straightforward ride for William Buick on Ombudsman. Yeah. But I think he's achievable. I think he was. I think he should be favourite at the moment.
Agree with that, or yeah.
Yeah, although like there is quite a big weight concession. I remember
there is.
Like Golden Horn was in receipt of weight from the grey of Kevin Ryder, the grey Gatsby. And looking back, Golden Horn did what he should have done based on those ratings. But you do need to go and achieve that as a 3-year-old.
Yeah, and the hype that you're talking about. Do you feel that with Constitution River, there's enough potential there, though? I know you're saying that what he's achieved hasn't quite matched the superlatives, but given
understandably, I mean, he's a young horse, yeah.
But profile-wise, what you're seeing from him in the 2 runs this year, the win at Chester that Steve was excited by, a lot of people were excited by.
I was excited then as well.
And the fact that he's overcome a poor draw, admittedly tactics played in his favour, is there enough there to make you think maybe he could be?
Indeed, having seen the race on Saturday and backing up what Steve said, he looked beaten at one stage. I could see a 1.5 mile being no problem. I know there's a lot of talk about he missed a derby because they weren't sure he'd get a 1.5 mile. I think he shapes like a 1.5 mile horse the way he runs. So yeah, look, the horse has got all sorts of potential. But at the moment, it's more potential than actual achievements.
Yeah. Do you agree about the fact that he could get a 1.5 mile?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he looks like he's relaxed enough, isn't he? He gives himself
he gives himself every chance.
Yeah. Some other really good racing took place. I mean, I just mentioned a nod to Said bin Suroor, Dubai Future. As usual, another poor pre-race suggestion from me that he'd lost his spark after the couple of wins in Dubai 2 years ago, and then he does that. I mean, he actually, I thought David Probert was brilliant on him.
Superb. Like tactically, that was so good because they crawled for the first 10 furlongs of the race, and then they were all above 13-second furlongs. He went from tracking Sweet William to swooping round the outside. They went 11.83, 11.87, 13.09, finished in speed percentage of 110%. Like you look at those, the jockey has won that race, and I think if you run that again another 9 times, I'd imagine Sweet William will be favourite and would probably come out on top.
Well, a lot of people were. Social media, obviously. Fair few people irritated by Rab Havlin on Sweet William. I must admit, I didn't see it at the time watching the race. I didn't think Rab Havlin did anything wrong. I just thought this was more David Probert has actually shown a bit of initiative and has won the race. When they first started quickening in the straight, I thought Rab Havlin was already off the bridle on Sweet William, and Dubai Future actually extended the lead at that point. So
I'm not sure Sweet William is the sort of horse you're going to be gunning to go on 3A. He's never had done in the past. That's not his run style. No, I think he was a victim of circumstances. Horse I would take out of the race is Lazy Griff, personally. I think if they were to meet again over in a proper test, that was his seasonal reappearance. He's a stayer, definitely a stayer. And I thought the race panned out where he got outpaced 2 out. I mean, been reasonably prominent. I really like the way he stayed on and nearly got to Sweet William in the closing stages. So certainly if they were to run the Gold Cup, I'd have Lazy Griff over Sweet William for sure. I think 2.5 miles he'd stay.
I think Charlie Johnson was slightly irritated on Thursday because he felt that it wasn't conclusive, that they should go for the Gold Cup. As opposed to keeping him at 1.5 miles and 1.6 miles, maybe. And ultimately they're saying the Irish Ledger is his big race this year. But they weren't. He was irritated that the way the race unfolded, they don't walk away going, yeah, I'm sure he's going to need further.
He's absolutely not a top 1.5 mile horse. I'd be dogmatic about that. He'd not say he can win a race. He wouldn't win a top race at 1.5 miles. He might be a top class stayer. I actually doubt that he'd be quick enough in a really good 1.6 miles. There is this feeling about you don't really want your horse to be a stayer. That's fashionable, isn't it? Yeah. But I'd certainly run him in a Gold Cup. I think he has the potential to leave his form behind in that sort of distance.
Other good racing taking place last week. What would you like to pick up on, Steve?
I thought Where Love Lives was good in the National Stakes, 16-1 for the Norfolk. They've got a couple because they've got Matteo as well, so whether one goes 5 furlongs and one goes 6 furlongs, I thought if either of those was to step up in trip, it would be Where Love Lives, but it'd be interesting to see where they both go. I thought Opportunity was good in the opener at Carlisle. Looks a strong stayer. I think they're still going to stick to the 1.5 mile trip. he was just caught too far back at Ascot the time before. I think the form was boosted. Valedictory, I think, finished 6th, went on to win at Goodwood as well. But yeah, I liked what Opportunity did. He's growing up because he looked as if he was a potential Derby horse last year and didn't quite end up. But yeah, he could be a top end mile and a half handicapper this year.
Matteo, interestingly enough, my cameraman on the weekend was telling me that Kevin Ryan's a Leeds fan.
Okay.
Matteo's after Dominic. Matteo.
Yeah.
That was about all the contribution I made to that preview of that particular race.
That's good contribution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What else did you like?
I mentioned
Opportunity.
Yeah, I mentioned a couple of Haggard horses that really took my eye at the weekend. Yeah, I think Opportunity is. I mean, he's clearly in for a rise, but I think he's going to take a lot of beating whatever Ascot handicap runs. If he goes up, whatever he goes up, £8, £9, £10, whatever it is, I still think he'll be a well-handicapped horse. I think he's untapped potential. They've got him to settle. I thought Ascot was all about teaching him to settle, and him and Valedictory found themselves way too far back in the race, dominated by prominent racers. Both of those are much better than they showed that day. But I think he's got a bit of class behind. The way he settled, despite being ridden prominently over a trip too short, arguably at Carlisle, I thought was really impressive. And I was really impressed by a sprinter, Realign, who I thought but what a cruising speed. I'm not sure. I know Wathenham love Ascot. I'm not sure the Woking would be his race personally. I'd rather aim him at a Stewards Cup or something. I think he's a fast 6 furlongs. I think he'd get away with a stiff 5 actually. He was tanking over the handicap the whole way through. And what I like, the horse is quite clever because he's kept his handicap up by not doing a stroke in front. Yeah. I think he'll go up not that much, and I suspect he's borderline group horse personally.
Well, I thought the way James Doyle rode him was almost like, I can do anything here.
I agree.
And he's going to win.
I agree.
That was the impression through the race.
Yeah, I agree.
Complete control.
So I think I've got a good race in him at some stage, where it will be, just not quite sure. I know they love Ascot, and I suspect it will go to Ascot, but Woking is a stiff 6, isn't it? I'm not 100% sure. So he might do, but I'd have my doubts. But I think he's got the talent, certainly.
Okay. Unfinished business after last year's Wokingham for Mr. Haggard. Okay, that's a look at last week's racing. Some very interesting horses, obviously, in discussion. But before we get into our Epsom preview, just to let you know that our sponsor, Bet365, have a best odds guaranteed offer. It's available at every single UK and Irish race from 8 a.m. on the day of the race. If you take a price and the SP is bigger, Bet365 will pay you at the bigger odds, and full T's and C's can be found on the website. And so we go to what still remains for me, and I hope for other people, the best race, and it is the Derby, because traditionally it has been the race over a very long period of time that has crowned champions. The favourite for the race this year is Benvenuto Cellini at 7-4 with Bet365. Item 72, Pierre Bonnard 8-1. James J. Braddock is 10s, Maltese Cross 10s, Bear Brilliance 12s, Ancient Egypt 14s, and his 25s bar those. Let's start then, Steve. We'll pick through a few of the main contenders. Benvenuto Cellini. If Constitution River didn't exist and we hadn't seen him run, how strong a contender do you think this is for the Derby for Aidan O'Brien?
Yeah, probably as much as Constitution River was in terms of achieving it in a different way at Chester. The form got a bit of a boost. The fourth horse of Godolphins has only got touched off in the cocked hat next time out. I think he's put up a good performance. Good performance. I think he's the right favourite. I think he'll stay. How much rain he'll want, I don't know. Probably wasn't at his very best, a 2-year-old. So that would be my advice for anybody betting this week. Is I wait till the day to have bets. These are because the forecast I'm talking about. Unless you're confident that your horse goes on any ground, I'd rather take a watching brief. But I think he's good. I think Pierre Bonnard is an interesting runner from the same yard. He's not the only one, but I think he's slowly finding his form. And as a 2-year-old, he looked a Derby type. And it's a race. Personally, I'd be looking further down the market. I don't think anything's achieved enough at the moment to be including Benvenuto Cellini to be. They don't frighten me. Their form is a good standard. It's not a standard which would. It needs improving on itself to win a Derby. So I'd be looking elsewhere myself, but I do think he's coated with a good chance.
Steve's pointing about the ground, because obviously he ran Doncaster behind Hawk Mountain, and it looked to be the ground that got the better of him. And in fact, that's as much as what Connection said. So if it does rain, is it possible that he might start at a bigger price than the 7-4, or and would you be concerned about his chances?
Yeah, I would be. Yeah, because it's not just the breeding. Like you look at the breeding as well. Full sister to Giselle, she wanted fast ground. Newspaper of record, obviously did all her winning in America on fast ground. So you've now got two pieces of evidence. You've got the breeding element of it, and you've also got that form from Doncaster at the end of last season. I suppose the positive about him is that you know that he'll stay. So he's a proven stayer. It's just whether he'll handle that ground and how much rain we get. I think he'll be fine on good to soft ground. But any softer than that would be a question mark for me. Stamina would also be a question mark for me around item.
Me too.
Out of a miler is produced a sprinter and a miler. Yes, they were by Kingman. This is by Frankel, who's more of a stamina influence. But I did also think that he was at the right part of the track at York that day.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it. 3 horses up there, including the runner-up.
Yeah, him in action on that far side. I thought that probably flattered him, so I'd be looking to take him on.
Yep.
Pierre Bonnard, I can see, is progressing with each start. We thought he was going to be the logical Derby horse after what he achieved last year at both Newmarket and at Saint-Cloud. But I would have hoped that he'd have won either of those two starts. Again, the positive for him is that he'll stay and he'll handle softer ground. But I keep coming back to Ancient Egypt. You'd argue that he's actually lived up to his price tag of 1.1 million, which is quite rare sometimes for these Ammo racing horses. But he won his first 2 starts, disappointed behind Boeco in the Royal Lodge. I thought they should have gone for the Zeppelin Stakes. He's one of these 2-year-olds that I think would relished a 1 mile 2 trip even at that stage of his career. Won easily on his reappearance at Newmarket over 1 mile and 2. Looked a strong stayer. Beat My Love Is King, who was a horse who was favourite for the London Gold Cup off the back of that run, who I think is going to end up being a group performer in time. So I think it's quite strong form. If you look at the breeding, Dam is a sister to Midday, who finished second in an Oaks. I think he'll stay. Ammo have a good record with horses at bigger prices. They've had Mojo Star and King of Steel finish second. Charlie Johnson had Lazy Griff finish second at a big price. His dad had DXB finish second at a big price. So I just think a tentative vote for Ancient Egypt for me, because I think he's got the form in the book. I think he's progressing, and I think he'll stay.
I think Stamina's massive, Rich. My 2 against the field in the same race, really. Bayer brings my idea of the Ledger winner. I think if it came up soft, I think he would run really well in the Derby. Okay. I'm not sure he's quick enough, but I think can't get Redcar out of my head last year where he loved the ground and Goodwood loved the ground. So I think any rain will be to make a test of Stamina. I do think the horse that beat him is in the Lingfield Derby, Maltese Cross, is deceptive. I think he's a horse who doesn't win by far. I think the jockey is more and more becoming confident about what he's got, knows how to ride him. And if it's a brilliant Derby and there's a brilliant horse in the race, I suspect he won't be quite good enough. If it's a sort of Sir Percy Derby, if it is, if that sort of standard wins it, I think Maltese Cross will definitely stay. Don't know about the ground, that will be a slight doubt, become very soft. But I do think he'll run well. Lingfield shows that he goes on a track like Epsom. I think he's bound to. Haggard's hardly had a runner in the Derby. Is it 3, 4? Yeah. The maximum of 3, maximum of 4, might be 3, including 1 winner. He's very selective about. He doesn't run horses just to run them. I could see Maltese Cross running pretty well. Certainly staying on. I think he'll beat more horses and beat him for sure.
The thing I was thinking about Maltese Cross last night. I was thinking when he won his first race at Newbury this year, the initial reaction was not bad, but not quite what we expected, considering what people were sort of talking about going into the start of the season. But actually, on reflection, that's a really good performance now, the win at Newbury. And then going to the race at Lingfield, again, I like what he did. And then you're thinking, okay, well, he's only just narrowly beaten, but they've pulled away clear of the field. And it's just possible that we've underestimated what he's achieved so far. So I'd include him. The horse I find is really too short is Item, and I'm with you guys. I think 7-2 is too short for him. I don't see, like I said at the time, I don't see Aidan O'Brien sitting at home going, oh, he's beaten Action for Benvenuto Cellini, or even Pierre Bonnard. I'm going to be scared about the horse that's beaten Action. Traditionally, he doesn't send his best horses to the Dante or his best Derby hopes. So I don't know where I'm going, to be honest. I'm not sure, and the ground is a major issue. If the ground's decent, I think Benvenuto Cellini would probably win, but I do like Maltese Cross as the alternative. So, yeah. And what sort of quality do we think the Derby is? I mean,
dangerous, isn't it? It's like the Guinea. They get all the chat for the Guinea, was it, with the sub-standard Guineas? Then Time Fall says the best performance on Guinea's Day since Frankel. And that's how things can change. Yeah. Lots of these horses haven't had a chance.
The reason why I'm asking this is because I'm slightly I guess because I'm a fan of the Derby, I get slightly irked when people are going, the better Derby's already taken place.
Oh, who knows?
It's even been in print that people are saying that the best Derby took place in France already.
Cornwall really take the Derby seriously. Really seriously. It's a very important race for them. French Derby has never been as important. I'm not saying it might be this year, considering they clearly really like. But I just think that sort of talk is, till Workforce won by 1,000,000 miles, people thought that was a bird Derby. Then he goes and wins an arc later. There are ordinary derbies. I've mentioned Sir Percy, where that probably was, with all due respect to Marcus Trigolian, but it wasn't a great derby. But you don't know until you find out. Lots of these horses haven't had the chance to have a stiff mile and a half, which is what they've got this week. And you might see a generous type performance or a Workforce type performance, and then 2 weeks later we're all going to be saying, what a performance that was. Let's see the race, is what I'm saying.
Well, I hope so. I guess it's just being defensive of the Derby at Epsom that makes me think when people say, well, the best three-year-old went to, or the best middle distance three-year-old went to France, so it sort of devalues our Derby. Slightly irritated.
It could irritate you. Let's see it first.
Yeah. Who knows?
Okay. What about the Oaks? This is a race again. Aidan O'Brien has seemingly a stranglehold. Amelia Earhart 2-1. Legacy Link is 3-1 second choice. Precise 4s. Thundering On 7s. Venetian Lace 9s. Cameo 12s. A la Prochaine 14s. Que Sera 14s and 33s. Bar those. Steve, if you were Ryan Moore, first of all, are you riding Amelia Earhart or Precise if they both run? Assuming that Precise runs.
Yeah, I'd probably ride Precise, if I'm being honest. I just think she's a better filly on the whole. I imagine he'll ride Amelia Earhart, though, because he's got that relationship with her from Chester, and Wayne Lorden clearly gets on well with Precise, though. I'm taking a massive swing in this race.
Okay.
I'm going with another Aidan O'Brien, Sugar Island. I think he's massively overpriced at 66-1. She won a Group 3 at the end of last season on heavy ground at the Curragh. She beat Thundering On by 2 3/4 lengths. Cameo was back in 4th that day, beaten 10 lengths. They're 7-1 and 10-1 for this race. And I just think that she's been priced purely off that run last time in the Cheshire Oaks. She was sent off 7-1 to beat Amelia Earhart and I'm the One, which looks one of the strongest trials for this race coming into it. She didn't get an easy lead that day. It was on faster ground that was ideal, and she finished 4th at the finish. If you look at her breeding, her Damn Heaven and Earth is a half-sister to Minding and Tuesday, who both won the Oaks. Dubawi got rid of his hoodoo at Epsom by producing the Oaks winner a couple of years ago. I think on slightly easier ground, you know how she's going to be ridden. She's going to be ridden from the front. I thought she was overpriced at 66-1. I looked back at Aidan O'Brien's record in it with second, third strings. So 2021, Snowfall won it when Ryan Moore was on Santa Barbara. 2018, Forever Together won when Ryan Moore was on Magic Wand. 2015, Qualify won when Ryan Moore was on Legatissimo. She was 50-1. Aidan's also won it with big price horses. Won it at 20-1 in 2012 when Joseph was on Maybe. So it's rare that they get it wrong in a derby. I know they did last year with Lambourne and Delacroix, but Delacroix ended up being the better one. But the Oaks, it doesn't always work that way. And I think there's question marks about lots of them at the head of the market. And I just thought she might well be worth taking a fly on at a huge price. If I like her, then I have to like Amelia Earhart based on that run. She's clearly quirky. A hood and blinkers is pretty much unheard of for Aidan O'Brien. I respect the Guineas form with Venetian Lace and Precise, given how well that's worked out. I think Innes Moore's come out. Precise has won. Venetian Suns obviously won as well. True Love, Abashiri have all ran well. So I get that. But again, given this, I want proven stamina proven on a bit of softer ground, and that's Sugar Island.
All right, 66-1. I like it. Good workings as well. So regardless of the result, well done. I feel like a teacher. Steve.
Well, I thought I was going for a reasonable price, but it pales into insignificance after listening to Coated Argument Steve put up, which is a great price. No, I'm sort of against. I'm against Amelia Earhart for a couple of reasons, really. I suppose the headgear is just putting me off, but I didn't think I'm the One went a yard that day. I thought he handled the track badly. He went wide. wise. I thought the ground was quicker than ideal for her, and I'm just not sure. I'm not sure she ran. I don't think she reproduced Newbury even. So I'm not sure about. I mean, at 2-1, if it'd been 7-1, I'd be making a different case. Legacy, I like. I thought she won well, the Musidora, but because I like that, the horse I like most is the Rafe Beckett horse who came third to a Case Syrah, who I thought was run with an enormous promise. I wasn't sure if they'd run an extra furlong and a half that day, it would have been close, I think, anyway. They were both making their reappearance. I think the Beckett yard had been slightly slow to come to hand. They were just finding their form by York, but I think they're in better form now. He's actually got 3 engines. I think they've all got a bit of a chance. You know, if you like Steve's case, you could make a case for Ala Provence, who also ran with promise that day. And even on Message, it was a big price, but I think might improve at 1.5 miles, and has got Epsom form. But Case Syrah, I was impressed when she won at Southall, ordinary race, but I thought she won like she was just much better. And I thought she ran really well in the Musidora, and I thought 14s, that sort of price was that would do for me. I definitely want a price. Precise has got the best form if she stays, yes, but she's been weak in the market, hasn't she? In the build up to it, and I think a few of them at the head at the prices. I'd like to take them on, and you know, Steve's got has trumped me by going a really good price, but I'm certainly looking for an each way bet in the race.
I was thinking if Precise and Amelia Hart were in different stables, and Precise won. Being the 2-year-old that she was, and she won the Irish Guineas in the way that she did, that would have probably propelled her to favouritism most times. But the fact that she's sitting here in the days before the race, 4-1, third choice, is a bit of a concern. I mean, I liked the Fillies Mile form, the Guineas form. Yeah. Precise to me raced like a horse that would stay as a 2-year-old. You know, she's shown her ability to act on different tracks. She's won at Goodwood, she's won at Newmarket, both times travelled well. She's clearly versatile. 1.5 miles is a different question, but there is stamina on the dam side of the pedigree. I know she's by Star Spangled Banner, and that lends itself to huge question marks about staying 1.5 miles. But there's loads of stamina on the dam side. If you go back 2 generations, horses that stayed 2 miles, etc. So there is that. The other horse that I had liked all the way leading up to this is Venetian Lace. Obviously, Precise is coming now, is actually just relegated in where
I can see that though, yeah.
But she's another one who's got high-class Group 1 form, placed in the Fillies Mile, ahead of Legacy Link, placed in the Guineas, stamina in the pedigree. Ahead of Precise. Stamina in the pedigree. As Steve said earlier, the Guineas form is working out well. As they, you know, the old tradition about the best trial for the classics at Epsom are the ones at Newmarket. And she was a horse that I've been keen on for Venetian Lace. So Precise is a bit of a concern that she's in the race now, because I thought she wasn't going to go for it at one point. But Venetian Lace I'm sticking with. She's 9-1, and I'm hoping she runs well. And Charlie Johnson's been pretty confident about her chances as well. And again, studying the pedigrees, I think they're pretty confident she'll stay 1.5 miles. So that's how I'm going to play the Oaks. The other 1.5 mile Group 1 at Epsom is, of course, the Coronation Cup. This has potential to be a belter as well. It's quite nice to have the Derby winner running in the race. But he's 7-1 fourth choice with Bet365, because Calandigan is 10-11 to overturn the form with Jan Bruegel from last year, who's 5-2. Convergent 6-1, Lamborn 7s, Bay City Roller 14s. See the Fire is a classy filly. She's 33s, Illinois 40s, and Sunway 150-1. Who do you like?
I love the race, first of all.
Yeah. I love the fact that these horses are going to line up this year.
Fascinating to see how many Aidan runs. I formed the impression last year, at the time I blamed the jockey, which is probably unfair, Mikel Barcelona on Calandigan. Watching my overall view, I mean, he's a really, really good horse, clearly, almost a horse of last year. I think he's a 1.25 miles stroke, 1.5 miles horse. Clearly gets a 1.5 miles well, but just as good, if not even slightly better, at 1.25 miles. I think they'll try and make it a test of stamina, particularly if we have a bit of rain, that Lamborn will crack on. And I thought there was an element of Jan Bruegel outstaying him last year. And with that race at Chester under his belt, and they were immediately talking about going back to the Coronation. At the prices, I'm not in any way anti the favourite, but I think I'd rather side with Jan Bruegel to repeat the trick. I think they might go a really good pace this time, make it a proper test.
I mean, Illinois is in there. I suspect he may go on early, and then one of the others pick it up. And then if they're floundering, then whichever one hasn't gone for it will try and
exactly.
What do you like, Steve?
Yeah, team tactics are going to be fascinating, isn't it? I imagine Lamborn will be ridden from the front as
Me
he was in the Derby last year. Try and make it a stamina test, and that will suit Jan Bruegel. It's interesting what Steve says around Calandigan, because when he was beaten in this race last year, everyone was calling him soft, attitude in the finish. Did he stay? Did he handle the track? Well, since then, we now know that he's won 5 races in a row, so it's nothing to do with attitude. We know that it's nothing to do with ability. So I then come back to, was it the track? And I watched it back on the way in this morning, and he does lug left-handed in behind, never really looks balanced in order to go past. And that would be a concern for him coming back to this track for me, against 2 horses who clearly relish Epsom as a test, Lambourne winning the Derby and Jan Bruegel obviously winning this last year. I know they don't think that Lambourne will stay further than a mile and a half. They thought that's why he didn't win the Leger. Jan Bruegel is a Leger winner. It's going to be interesting tactically. I wouldn't get rid of Convergent either. I think is a very, very good horse. Whether he can then take that step up to actually reach this. He did well to win the John Porter on his reappearance, got in all sorts of bother, and you had to be a good horse to win from there. So a fascinating race to watch. It probably isn't one that I'm going to have a bet in, but if I was forced, it would be Lambourne.
I like Convergent. Talking about it on the way up here. I think he's an out-and-out, top-class, 1.5-mile horse with a turn of foot. Which is not something that we often get these days, a horse that needs a 1.5 miles and has a bit of a turn of foot. But you look back at his form, I mean, he was 3rd in the Chester Vase last year, 1st and 2nd were Lambourne and Lazy Griff. And he was a bit keen throughout that race, and actually, I think he probably led more than Connections would have wanted. And then he won. The performance in Ireland I thought was terrific, because he was very keen through the race, and yet he put it to bed very quickly. That was on Irish Champions weekend. He went from that to France. He beat Dubai Honour. They dropped back a furlong, and Tripp just got up to beat him. Last race of the season was a bit of a blowout. And then he returned with a super performance in winning the John Porter. Where Al Azi's, okay, he's not a Group 1 horse, but Al Azi's a pretty good yardstick. And he and Al Azi were side by side in the home straight, but he was trapped in a pocket, couldn't get out. Al Azi was quickening up, and yet he's managed to pick up Al Azi and ease down at the line. He's clearly got loads of ability. He's a big, strong horse as well. He's only going to get better as he gets older and as he goes through his racing. I actually think, because it's a stamina test, taking into account what Steve says about Calandigan, I mean, I'm really keen on him at Convergent to just win at 6-1. I'm not frightened by anything in the race, even because it's a 1.5 miles, and as Steve has said, year upon year, the 1.5 miles at Epsom,
stiffest 1.5 miles in Europe.
It's a really good test.
By a long way, actually.
And I think this is right up his street, Convergent. This sort of test is exactly. I mean, I don't know if he'll act on the track. That's a question mark. But I think he's in terms of talent and ability for a 1.5 miles, I think he's right up there. So I'm very keen on his chances in the Coronation Cup. Lots of other good races at Epsom, by the way. Well done to Epsom for putting on. I mean, they've made some alterations to the card. Obviously, the Coronation Cup is on Saturday. The Princess Elizabeth is also one of the good races. Pacific Mission, 7-2, joint favourite with She's Perfect. Sparks Fly, 4-1. Pina Sonata, 9-2. Aris Egg, 7s. 8-1. Breckenburn, 12s. Bar those. Have you got a view on this race, Steve?
Connections of Sparks Fly will be happy with the rain.
Yeah.
It's essential for her. She's top rated in this with a mark of 110. All of her best form is on softer ground. They'll just pull her out if it's not soft enough for her. I thought she was quite unlucky.
Like last year.
3rd in this behind Spiritual. I can see the case for her. She's Perfect. I've been slightly disappointed with on her last couple of starts, since obviously her demotion in the French Guineas. I'd look to take her on. Arasaig is the one that interests me. Now, there are obviously risks attached, because Royal Ascot and Goodwood are around the corner. She's rated 102, so she would get into some high-end handicaps. They might look to drop her a few pounds, but she stayed on an eye-catching style on her last 2 starts this season, has got group placed form, but hasn't got group or listed wins on her page. So owners might then be looking for her next chapter of her career and look for a group race, and this doesn't look the strongest of contests. I thought she was of interest, but she does come with risk attached. So if the rain continues to come, I'm definitely with Sparks Fly. But if it doesn't come, that it turns it soft and it's good to soft, I might chance Arasaig again.
Araseg, I can't tell you the number of times I've backed her. I keep thinking she's going to win, and I keep thinking it's all going to. Jamie Spencer's a terrific jockey over the years, I know, but sometimes I just wonder, can't you sit a little bit closer? You don't have to sit last. I mean, it's just, maybe I'm being unfair and unkind, but I do think she should have won more races than she has.
I mean, it's amazing that I look back at her wins because I was like, I'm sure she must have won a listed or a group race, and she hasn't. She's won.
I think she should have won a Goodwood last year.
Yeah.
But it's just where the big target is with her.
I wish I knew. I'd get some of that bundles that I've not won on her. Steve, do you like Sparks Fly?
Yeah, it'd be my. Not really got a strong view, but I just echo everything Steve says. If you get the rain, with so much of this week, it depends on what weather we have. If the ground is on the soft side, I can't see why Sparks Fly won't run very close.
Yeah, I like her. As Steve said, she was unlucky in the race last year behind Spiritual, where she didn't actually lead, which was unusual for her, but she finished off the race really well. If she gets out in front as well on that track with a bit of cut in the ground, I think she'll be very hard to beat. Sparks Fly, who's 4-1 with Bet365. The Diomed is also on the cards at Epsom. That's on Friday. Last year's winner, Persica, is back 5-2. Boiling Point, who just nutted Nakeeb Goodwood to our detriment. 11-2. Ice Max 6-1, obviously third in the race last year. Alcantor, second run I think it is for Joseph O'Brien, 7-1. Seagulls 11, 7-1. Linwood 8s. Kirat, the Sussex Stakes winner, 8-1. Skakuza 8s. Chancellor on the turf 11s. 14s bar those. Who do you like here, Steve?
Lots of opinions this week. This is one, honestly, I've got, whatever I say would be so insincere. I'm going to pass. I haven't got a view.
One of the least insincere men I know.
Yeah, but I have no view. I really don't. So I'll leave it to people who have.
All right, Steve, have you got a view? Please say yes.
Yeah, I like Ice Max in this.
Oh, you like that?
He's placed behind Persica in it last year, beaten less than a length. Docklands was slightly unlucky back in third before he went on to win the Queen Anne. He was in good ground last year. It was just before the deluge of rain after the Derby, and we know that he appreciates a bit of cut in the ground. His 2 runs in the UK so far have been over 1 mile and 2. Third behind Lambourne and Bay City Roller in the Huxley Stakes. Was then 6th, but beaten less than 2 lengths at Goodwood last time. I just don't think he stays that extra couple of furlongs. This drop back in trip will suit him based both on the finishing effort and how he races during the race, because he's just been too keen over that 1 mile and 2, going that half a stride slower over the trip. He proved that he handled Epsom last year. I thought 6-1's very, very fair. He has, I think, a couple of pounds to find on official ratings, but back on a bit of softer ground, I think is a good each way bet in this.
I echo everything you say, and I'll add to the fact that I thought he got to the front too soon at Epsom last year. He was in behind, and then the little gap appeared, and he ended up getting through that gap, and he was travelling so nicely that there was no other option but to do that. And then he just emptied out in the last furlong, half a furlong, and obviously Persica and Docklands on the outside of him. But I think he'll beat Persica this time around. So 6-1.
Excellent.
I thought Persica was really eye-catching with how he ran at Newmarket, but Demisis didn't really run to form in the Lockinge. The second has been beaten since as well, so it doesn't actually look as strong a reappearance run than what I thought it was at the time.
All right, Steve, you mentioned you had some other strong views.
Give us 3. Very quickly, if I keep them brief.
You can have as long as you like.
No. Give them 3. If we don't have extremes, and we talk, well, in fact, the nearer is a good ground, the better. I'm talking about. I like Lexington Blitz in the dash. Very rare sort of notes. When he won at Goodwood, I made a note to myself: this horse loves running downhill. Most horses you'll see slightly slow their strides, when they run, like we would do running. A complete natural. He ran, in fact, he came second in the 3-year-old dash here last year, so we know it, but I think it improved. I thought that was a mighty performance that day. The handicap hasn't missed him, but I do think he's got a chance in the dash on Saturday. But he's a speed horse, and whether he want too much rain, I don't know. I like Lake Forest in the Tatton Corner Stakes. I know at the race he should have won last time, but he didn't half win, and I have a feeling he's going to fulfil his potential this year. He's been gelded. It's clearly had a positive effect. And I must say, I think he's got an outstanding chance.
By the way, that could be a pretty good race as well. Never So Brave, 5-2, Lake Forest 7-4.
Absolutely. If they both stand the ground, it's a really good race. But in the hope that they both do, otherwise the prices would be too short. Yes. I would certainly favour Lake Forest myself. I also fancy most of the handicaps all week. Again, I wouldn't want it very soft. I like Salau in the Nifty 50. Yeah. I thought he ran a really good race in his reappearance at Epsom. He was ridden like, he was trying, but he was ridden like it was his first run of the year. I didn't think he was given a hard time. Again, little notes I made, I thought, will we spot on next time out, is what I thought. And I suspect this has been the target ever since then.
I must admit, when I saw the prices last night, 4-1 with Bet365, I thought he'd be shorter than that.
Yeah, I guess there's others. Tycoon took the eye from many people at Newmarket on the wrong side. Respond was impressive last time out. I mean, it's a good handicap, but I think Salau is borderline pattern class when he gets his act together. I would worry if it was soft ground. Just on the soft side, I don't mind, but he'd be my strongest view of the handicaps.
All right, so Salal 4-1 in the Nifty 50, Lake Forest 7-4 in the Tattenham Corner, and Lexington Bliss 7-1 for the Dash.
Yeah.
Those prices.
Who knows the draw and everything else at this stage, but anyway.
Steve.
I did like Salal as well. I thought it was eye-catching behind
That's
Rathgar.
Three of us that are burying poor
Salal. Gosh, it's
Rathgar had obviously beaten
Mm-hmm.
Valedictory at Newbury prior to that as well. I mean, he is £5 high here, so the handicap didn't miss that run last time. But I thought, given that course experience, the freshness out of him, I can see the case for him. I might have a small saver on City of Delight in the same race, though, 10-1. Mm-hmm. He beat the aforementioned Rathgar over this course and distance in April last year, is now rated only £3 higher. So City of Delight, I could see, will have been targeted at this race. In the 440, the mile and half a furlong Whirlpool handicap, Sterling Knight, won for Ed Dunlop when we were at Newmarket. Is booked Ryan Moore for the ride. He won at Newmarket when we were there. He's got good form on downhill tracks. Only ran at Epsom once, but that was when fourth, beating only a length off a mark of 93 a couple of years ago. He's still on a mark of 92 despite being put up £5 last time. You know, he does have an entry in the concluding 7 furlong handicap as well, but I would like him for that Whirlpool handicap at the 440. I thought it was really interesting, Lake Forest against Never So Brave. Just with this rain that's coming down, it would direct me towards Lake Forest rather than Never So Brave, who I think will want the ground as fast as possible to see him to best effect. But it's a really good turnout for this race, isn't it? Because they finished 1-2 in the City of York, which is now Group 1 last year. So I'm sure Epsom are going to be thrilled if both of those end up coming. My old soft spot for Democracy Dilemma in the Dash. Robert Cowell's booked Jack Mitchell from the ride. Hopefully gets a good draw. You want to be high in the Dash. You can get across to this rail generally. Ran in the race for the past 2 years, was second, beaten half a length of a mark of 102. Was 7th last year, but was drawn 6th that day. And as fast as he raced then in the middle as opposed to coming out. That was off a mark of 104 and is now down to a mark of 99. The only other time that he dropped below 100 in the past couple of years resulted in a win at Chester off 97 and a 4 3/4 length win at Haydock off a mark of 99. Not forgetting a win in the Beverley Bullet in between as well. So he's clearly well handicapped. He ran in that Windsor race last time that Red Orange won, but there was 9 runners that day. I think 6 or 7 were front runners, and he just didn't get the easy lead that he sometimes does. So hopefully when the draw comes out, he's drawn high, he can get to that rail. We know that he handles Epsom. I thought Democracy Dilemma in the Dash was probably quite a good one. If you can get a price for that for me. In the 440... Tens, yeah, that's fine. In the Leicester Piggott handicap for 3-year-olds over a mile and 2. This is a race that your trackers need to be looking at because there's often good horses running in here for future engagement. Andrew Balding targets this race, won it in 2017, 2019, 2022, had Portsmouth finish second to Persica a couple of years ago as well. He runs Allegress, who makes his handicap debut despite this being his 6th start. They've gone very softly with him. He won 2 novice races at Kempton prior to finishing down the field behind Pierre Bonnard in the Zetland Stakes on his final start last season. Gelded over the winter, last of 4 over a mile on his reappearance in a conditions race at Goodwood. That smacked as a prep run, back up in trip here, handicap debut. He carries a big weight here. He's down to carry top weight off 93, but the last 3 winners of this carried over 9 stone 4, so that wouldn't be a concern for me. So Allegress in this. And then just to small one of interest in the 5:55, the concluding 6 furlong handicap on Derby Day. Ian Williams has landed this a few years recently with well-backed horses. He's got purest time this year. Now, he was a smart sprinter in France, joined the stable at the start of this season, rated 96, far too high. He's then finished second on 3 occasions, all off marks of 87. Following 5 wins on the all-weather, he'd dropped down from a mark of 88 to a mark of 82. Won off that mark at Windsor last time by a length. Handicappers raised him £4. That was at Windsor. He's ran well at Goodwood. That'd give you encouragement for Epsom. So I thought Purest Time was interesting in the concluding handicap.
Some excellent suggestions. So noted those. I'm only going to add one more, only because I feel the 2-year-old form is beginning to settle in a little bit now. You're getting an idea. Hickory Lad is 7-1 for the Woodcut with Bet365. He's run 3 times. He won one of those 3 runs and he's been second twice. The 2 horses that have beaten him are Adonius, who's unbeaten, and Where Love Lives, who's unbeaten. And I thought he was a fair price when I was looking through the odds for the race last night. So Hickory Lad added to all those, and as both Steves have said, call me Steve then, because I like Salal as well. It's so obvious. And I thought 4-1 still pretty generous for a horse who is bordering indeed on pattern class. Okay, so that's a look at what's to come at Epsom this week. Now, before we get into our best bets, just to let you know about Bet365's position payout offer. Go to any horse race that offers the position payout market. Each selection will display a return for finishing first, second, third, fourth, and so on. Just place your bet, and the higher your selection finishes, the higher your payout. Seems relatively simple. T's and C's apply. Okay, it's time for our best bets of the week. Steve, where are you going for this?
I think I'll stick with Salal, because Lake Forest was my other toss-up. That's not a wonderful price. So I'll go for Salal for all the reasons we've said. I thought it was an eye-catching reappearance. It was a tad fresh, just run to me like the next race will be spot on, proven at the track. Just think it's got a lot going for it. A horse who, certainly last year, they were talking up as a potential pattern class horse. And I think at this time it's lightly raced. They've tried him in good races before. I think the mark, despite a rise, is very workable. I may save some money on Tycoon, who I thought was an eye catcher at Newmarket from the wrong side. 4 horses raced on the far side at Newmarket that day. He was one, is easily the best over a trip too short. So I'd hate him to win, but I think Salal would be my strongest view of the week.
Okay, Salal in the nifty 50 for Steve, 4-1 with Bet365. Steve?
I like Ice Max in the Diomed Stakes. Finished second in it behind Persad last year. They're both reopposed this year, but this time hopefully it's going to be a bit softer ground than the good ground encountered last year. I thought he's ran eye-catchingly well over a mile and 2 on his previous 2 starts, so this drop back in trip will suit him. The softer ground will suit him, and at 6-1, I like Ice Max.
Okay, Ice Max, yes, as you say, 6-1, Bet365 for the Diamond. And I'm going for Convergent in the, I never thought I'd say that I'd be taking on Calandagan 10-11 in the Coronation Cup, but I do think Convergent is a serious beast of a horse at 1.5 miles with a bit of a turn of foot. And I think that the pace will be very strong in the race in the Coronation Cup with Jan Bruegel, Lambourne and possibly Illinois as well to help make the pace. There's no way that Coolmore are going to outspeed Calandagan, so they'll have to make it a test for their 2 principal runners, Jan Bruegel and Lambourne. That will suit Convergent as long as there's enough pace and he can just sit and wait. He's got a turn of foot. Maybe not quite as good as Calandagan, but I think he sees out 1.5 miles better than Calandagan will at Epsom, which is such a stiff 1.5 miles. And I only think we've scratched the surface with what he can do. So Convergent to 6-1 for the Coronation Cup for me. Ice Max at 6-1 for Steve Ryder in the Diomed. And for Steve Mellish, Salal at 4-1 in the Nifty 50 with a watching eye and potential saver on Tycoon. And that's it in terms of our preview, Steve. Will you be watching from home, studio?
It's a question of living room or back room.
Okay.
I'm not sure which one. But one of the two. I vary.
Which is your favourite room?
Depends on the weather.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say it's cloudy and
just
sunny.
had the living room done up.
It's one of those days where it's varying.
If I'm by myself on Friday, 50s, I will watch it in the front room.
Right.
If I'm with people, odds on,
Would you prefer to be by yourself or on your own?
I love my family.
So genuine. So sincere, as I said earlier.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So you'll be
If they want to go out for the day, that's fine with me.
Such a generous man. You're going to Epsom?
Yeah, I'll be there Friday, Saturday.
Excellent.
Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, Racing TV?
No.
Not?
No.
Neither day?
Well, no, I'm there.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were...
Yeah, I'm marking your card.
Right.
On Derby Day, so I'm doing that morning shift. But no, Friday's purely just for pleasure.
Yeah.
Hopefully not too much rain.
Yeah, I hope so.
Hope they have some luck, Epsom. I really hope they have some luck.
I was just about to finish with that. It's been, Epsom have taken obviously a beating in the last couple of years. The Derby itself has waned in terms of its popularity, and I know that, you know, on this panel we do appreciate the race. We love the race. I just want them to have a bit of luck. It'd be nice. I know there's rain forecast on Saturday, depending on which app, but it'd be nice if the sun came out for the Derby itself.
It would.
Okay. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you.
Steve, it's been easy calling the names of the guests today. I haven't had to work too hard on that one. Thank you as well for joining us for this episode. Looking forward to the Derby of Racing Weekly, brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. Thanks to the Steves for joining me as well. Don't forget, if you like what you've heard or watched in this or any of our previous episodes, then leave us a kind review on Apple Podcasts or in the comment section on YouTube. We are back next week, but not as early in the week as we normally are, because we'll be coming in at the end of the week in order to preview the best of the racing for Royal Ascot, and that'll be in the company of Andy Holding. From the two Steves, myself, the Racing Weekly team, enjoy Derby week.